Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Safety by Design. We, as real estate agents or brokers, always have to think about our safety as we're out with clients. Hi, my name is Lori Powell. For those of you who don't know me, I have enjoyed a wonderful real estate career and enjoy even more helping agents become more successful and confident in what they do. And so through the years, I've done a lot of mentoring and training and so forth. This is just an interesting topic for us to discuss. I've been through lots of trainings. I'm sure some of you have as well. So some of these ideas you may already be aware of, but I thought it might help agents and brokers to at least have a summary of some things that can be done that might help secure or ensure our safety as best we can in our careers. I don't know if you've personally known anyone who's had, a security issue with themselves or feeling a sense of uneasiness or have been hurt or harmed in any way when they've been with clients and strangers, if you will. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks that may or may not help you, you may or may not be aware of. So I'm just going to go through some of those today briefly. Hopefully it'll help some of you. If at any time you need to reach out to me, don't hesitate. I love helping agents succeed. I am building a global team. If anybody wants to join in and have access to a lot of our trainings for free. In any case, let's get to it. Well, of course, when we meet a client for the first time, it's accepted best practices, obviously, to meet them in a public location for the first time, to get a feel for, who they are, how they operate in a public environment. And, sometimes we can't, right? We might be working on the floor and we get a call to go show a house or something, and there's not that opportunity to meet them ahead of time. It is good to at least meet them outside and talk to them for a few minutes outside, close to the street where you're visible to other people around you, and get a feel for them there if you need to. There's this old saying that I've used with my agents, and that is rely on your spidey senses. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Spider-Man, but those spidey senses, I've been trained by others in this field that are experts at it. They're not real estate agents. They're experts in, being safe, right? That is the most effective way to avoid an insecure situation or an unsafe situation. To trust your intuition, to trust those spidey senses, to trust that gut feeling. And that is something that, through the studies of agents who have been hurt, for example, when they're asked afterwards, they almost always had a gut feel that something was wrong. They felt off. They felt nervous about going to that showing or going to that meeting, but they ignored it for whatever reason, right? They talked themselves out of it. They justified something else, that they were just having an off day or that they're sensitive that day or whatever. And the experts tell us that we should trust those and don't hesitate to design for that. It is your safety by design. And there's several ways that we can do that. I remember one time I had to show a new buyer a property, a piece of land that was about 50 minutes away up in the mountains. And I just had this weird feeling about it. So I had a good friend who loves taking drives, loves going out to the mountains, who happened to be an let's just say he was an ex either cop or CIA agent or safety patrol type person. I'll just categorize him that way. That agreed to go up with me, to just ride with me. And we just presented it as, a friend of mine that is interested in real estate, and so he wanted to go ahead and go as well. He's just going to be listening in and observing, and he sat in the back seat. And then that way I could take the client more comfortably. This friend of mine was very intimidating from an appearance standpoint, and I felt comfortable the whole way. Who knows if anything may have happened with that, but I trusted those spidey senses and did it. There's there's situations that you may not be tuned in anything because you don't feel unsafe at all, but it puts you in a situation that could be unsafe that doesn't have anything to do with you or your client. I remember one time I was showing an investor a bank-owned property, and it was that time of year where it's dark at 9 in the morning and it's dark at 4 in the afternoon. And we met right after he got off work at like 4:30 at the house, and it was already dark. Well, that particular bank-owned didn't have any electricity. It wasn't cold enough for them to be concerned about the heating, but it was still dark, right? And so we go in with flashlights. I carried flashlights in my car for that very reason. We went in with flashlights and, we're looking around the house. I was completely comfortable with this client. I've been, showing property to this client for a long time, repeat client. And the next thing we know, we're surrounded with cops. Someone had called it in as a, potential break-in. And so all of a sudden we got a knock on the door. And of course, being the agent, I go to the door. I don't let the client go to the door. And here's cops. And I glance up the street. There's cops that have guns drawn, both directions up the street, not very far away. And you could see the cars parked. And that's a potentially dangerous situation for both you and your client, but you would never expect that. You didn't feel it, right? It was no spidey senses on that. Thank goodness I was wearing my name tag. And even though I wasn't carrying a business card, I had one in my car. So it was easy for me to justify that I was a real estate agent showing property and prove that we weren't breaking in. So you might always want to wear your name badge just in case. It shows the company that you're hanging your license with. And even if you don't carry, business cards with you, I mean, some of us use that as a strategy to gather contact information for our databases by intentionally not handing out a card, right? At least carry one in your car so that you can prove if you ever get confronted by anyone, by a neighbor who's trying to protect the property, by someone who's watching a property that they don't know that a showing is happening. Especially in today's world, just be safe and be able to prove you are who you are. So that might be a tip for you just to start implementing all the time. At least have those two things. Let's talk about when your spidey senses are telling you before you go on a showing that you just aren't sure, you're not feeling comfortable. Well, there's several different things you can do. You can, and again, and you can set these ideas up, these procedures up, regardless of whether you have the spidey sense on a particular showing or not. You can let someone know that you're going to be showing properties, and you can actually set up an individual or an entity to be available to take emergency calls. So, for example, let's say you go on a showing and you just are uncomfortable with how that potential client is acting or treating you. You can set up with someone that if you call them, number one, they'll be available to answer. They won't not answer your call. So this can be someone in your office. It can be a coworker. It can be a broker. It can be a spouse, a friend, whomever, someone who's going to pick up the phone immediately. And it's real easy as you're having a conversation with your potential client who's looking at the property saying, you know what, I'm going to call and get just a little bit more information on that because I'm not getting good access on cell coverage right now for whatever reason. You pick up the phone, you call this predefined individual, and you let them know that, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you look up that information for me? Because I'm having I'm having issues looking it up on my phone. Can you look up that 123 Main Street address and let me know if there's any homeowners association dues there? I can't recall. And I want to be able to tell my client, you come up with something, right, that correlates with your conversation or your showing at that moment. And of course, the address that you're stating is the address that you're that you're at. Well, if you preset this up with someone, they actually will know that, gosh, if they're giving me this address, they're not asking for information. They're wanting me to make sure that they're safe. And so you teach them, you train them to say, do you want me to stay on the phone with you? And make up reasons to stay on the phone with you. And then you, as the agent, answer yes or no. Do you want me to call the police? And you, as the agent, say yes or no. You pretend that you're just having a conversation, answering questions, right, about 123 Main Street. But what you've already trained that individual or that entity to do is to ask you these series of questions. Do you want me to come there now? I'm about 15 minutes away. And then you, as the agent, answer yes or no. This is your way to get help if you need help. Sometimes you feel like if you just are on the phone with someone, that whoever it is will never do anything to you because they don't want it recorded, right? They don't want someone else to hear it. So they can keep you on the phone and pretend, and you can pretend back, gosh, you're having difficulties looking that up as well. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll just go on to the next showing at 623 South Street. That tells the person where you're going next. Then that person, you train that person again. Do you want me to meet you there? And you can say yes or no. You can handle this however you want, but the key is to educate and train whoever that is to answer the phone and what questions to ask you and how to respond. This is an assurance that you can get help, right? If you have an uncomfortable feeling before you go show a showing, you can choose to reschedule it. You can choose to get a hold of your entity or your friend or your contact, right? Your emergency contact, and tell them that you're going to 123 Main Street and that if you don't call by 2:15, to have them call you. And if there's no answer, to send help right away. Whether it's them or you can prescribe it, send the police, or you can send them. They're going to come over, whatever you need to do. The other way you can do it is you can actually have an agent go with you or a friend go with you. And if you have that not good feeling, and there's things that you can train that individual to do if you have them come with you to the showing. For example, when you are showing the property to the client, your friend or your safety buddy, we'll call them that, whoever it is, another agent, whatever it is, whoever it is, they need to be standing at the front door and be able to see you and hear you, but not be close to the potential client. This allows them to run if they need to run away to get help, but also makes it an awkward situation for that potential client to not be able to take care of both of you at once, right? Because you're too far apart. Never allow and this is for you for any time, right? It's recommended that you never allow the person viewing the property to be between you and a door. So if you go into a bedroom, for example, to look at the bedroom, you should be closest to the door. The client shouldn't be at the door and you in the bedroom. Same way with any exits in the property. You open the doors and you let them go through, through the door while you're holding the door, or you go through the door first as you're exiting a property and have them come out after you, however you want to do it, but make sure that you can always get out is the point. Put yourself in a position physically inside the property, inside the rooms, where you can always get out before the client if need be. Same way if you've got your safety buddy with you. Not only you should be able to exit a room or exit the house first before your client, but your safety buddy definitely needs to be able to exit the house as soon as needed, if needed. And the fact that you stay far away from each other, then that way someone can't grab both of you, right? Let's say that you have multiple people who are looking at the property. It's a group of people, right? How do you manage that? How do you manage your safety there? Well, the first thing that I always recommend is before you even go inside the house with them, you recommend that they all stay together. You just explain the seller requires us to manage anybody and be responsible for anybody who's in the property. And for security reasons, we need all of you to stay together. So if, for example, they have little kids with them. So if you don't mind, grab a hand so that no one gets away and make a joke of it, right? We need to keep all of us together and move together throughout the house. Again, you're positioning them to go inside the rooms first so that you're always at the escape door if need be. And you're able to better protect the property as well to keep anything from being moved or damaged or stolen, etc., from a safety and security standpoint as well. But primarily for your own safety, physical safety. There's, I'm sure that some of you have heard about the red file or the blue file or the manila folder that's laying on my desk. You can use that as code words as well to whomever you call, whoever your safety connection is from a phone call away. Hey, can you go grab that blue file that's sitting on the corner of my desk? It's labeled 123 Main Street. I have a question for you out of it. Well, again, you're educating that person or that entity who's listening for your call, waiting for your call if need be. The words that you're using, that you're telling them in advance that you're going to be using, that indicates whether or not you're in an unsafe situation. So they go through the series of questions. Do you want me to call the police? Yes or no? Do you want me to come there? Yes or no? Do you want me to stay on the phone with you? Yes or no? And that sort of thing. And you can just make up conversation. You're answering the questions so that safety emergency contact knows what you want them to do. So hopefully some of those things will give some insight. There are other things that I've been trained on from a physical safety standpoint. If you do get in a bad situation, I don't really feel comfortable relaying that, but I encourage you, if you feel like you need to learn whether or not you should carry, whether or not you should fight back, how you should fight back, what if you're trapped in a car, all of those things, if you feel like you don't have a plan in place, then my recommendation is to take a class. I've been through a couple of them, and a lot of it is the exact opposite of what you would think that you would do. So I'll give you that hint. I'm not an expert in it, but I've been trained by others who have been experts. And I just encourage you to go through the questions yourself. A lot of people may try and avoid even thinking about it, right? But in my opinion, you should have a plan. So think through. Do you know right now, do you have a plan for if you were trapped in a car and someone else was driving it? What would you do? Do you have a plan for, or have you thought through what you would do if someone tried to come on to you to attack you? whether to harm you or to abuse you in some way? Do you have a plan in place or an idea of what you would do if you felt trapped in a house by a potential client or a fake client? Do you have a plan, or do you know what you would do if you flat out saw someone do something harmful to either a property or to another individual while you're on a showing that were your potential clients? Think through all these pieces. Do you know what you would do if an argument broke out, whether you're the recipient of it or not, that got heated to the point where it could turn violent? If you're in that situation, what would you do? So have a plan for these things. Think through these things. Not that you expect to happen. I always say, hope and expect the best, but plan for the worst case scenario. And once you have a plan, you can just let it go. It's not something that you have to dwell on or worry about. You just put a plan in place, right? What if your phone is taken from you? Then what do you do, right? And there's a lot of these pieces that are in these highly specialized trainings from the experts that will tell you how to handle situations like that and what to do. My objective is to set up some tips and tricks for you that are pretty basic, and then encourage you to have a plan for the more serious. What if it gets past that point and there's actually some violence or physical potential harm? What do you do in those situations? Have a plan for them. So the front side is the tips and tricks to hopefully avoid those things, right? That's the things that I'm giving you as a list. What to do if you get caught in a situation that needs to come from the experts, and go ahead and get some training on that from someone who's an expert in safety and security. There's other things that you can talk about as well. What do you do if there's a tornado warning? What do you do if a fire breaks out? What do you do if there's a medical emergency and you're not CPR trained? How do you handle those situations where you aren't liable and at the same time you're trying to help as much as possible? There's a fine line there. Again, the experts can explain all of that. This is a relatively short training. Its focus is thinking about your well-being and realizing that you aren't just an arbitrary victim, that you can actually create your safety by design and make a plan and share it with people. If you have a safety buddy, for example, that's willing to go with you on showings, well, I would set up 2 or 3 of them, right? Because not everybody's going to be available at a moment's notice if you feel uncomfortable right before you go show a house. Set a plan up with either your office or 2 or 3 people who can be your on-call emergency people to go through those series of questions to help you stay safe. Think through and envision how you would walk people through the next time you go show a house or the next time you go on a listing appointment. Think through how you're walking through that house and where you are with respect to where they're located so that you can escape through those doors if need be. It's a good idea too. A lot of agents will actually meet with clients in their offices in a public environment, take copies of driver's licenses, and just tell them that you need them in the file. I've never done that because of the privacy issues that I have with that, but I do know a lot of agents who have done that. Taking down license plate numbers, just jotting it into your phone, pretending that you're writing in your phone. That sometimes I've heard is a good way to track things as well. Taking a picture of their car or of them somehow, some way with your phone. I have a daughter who's a master at taking pictures of things without people knowing, and I'm sure that most of you can do that as well. So there's other ideas there too by other agents that they've used that I'm sharing as well. Reach out to me if you have any questions. My priority is your safety and your success, and enjoy your day.